Which is the great part. Who's gonna stop it, dog? People that are grateful, they don't mind working. For this season, get all in. All we got. All we got. All we need. All we need. Everybody has to put in. I want the team to win. Period. But if you want to get it done and you throw it down and you surrender to this team. Today we start the foundation of team.
Welcome to Always Auburn with your host, Tyler Crane.
All right, we are back at you Wednesday morning with Always Auburn. A lot of excitement brewing on the plains right now, even with the disappointing start to the season and dropping 2 on the road to A&M in Oklahoma. There is still a lot to look forward to, and we are back at home, back in Jordan-Hare. The lights are going to be on. We're under the lights. They're probably going to shoot fireworks. It is going to be one heck of an environment Saturday night as the Georgia Bulldogs come to town for the renewal of the Deep South's oldest rivalry. We're going to continue throughout the week to get into the details of the game, what I think the key points to Auburn coming out with a victory will be. We're also going to look at some of the struggles that Auburn's have. We looked at Jackson Arnold so far this week. We've talked about kind of the concerns we have with Coach Freeze already this week too, and we're going to get into more of that. We're going to talk about the player interviews and just everything that I think is brewing around this game. But for this segment, I told everybody yesterday that I really want to reflect during this week. I want to go back. I want to look to some good times. This is one of my favorite rivalries in all of college football. I'm biased because I'm an Auburn fan, but I enjoy this rivalry, if not more, just as much as I do the Iron Bowl. And I ran a little long yesterday with my video trying to combine reflecting and also talking about the X's and O's of the game and really discussing some of the points of the game, coming up previewing some of the what I think is going to be aspects and fundamental points of the game. And I got a little lengthy yesterday with the video. So I'm just going to do a segment this morning where we reflect, we look back, and it doesn't have anything to do with the game upcoming as far as previewing it, but I think it's good for us true Auburn fans to really look back in our history and look at our tradition and look at the success we've seen at with our football program and what makes us a football school, how we ingrain that throughout the history of our university, and look back at these times and really just reflect and reminisce to kind of give us that hope, give us that reassure us of that passion that we all have inside of us as true Auburn football fans and Auburn fans in general. So for today's segment, we're going to go back to the 2004 Auburn versus Georgia game in Jordan-Hare Stadium, the Deep South's oldest rivalry. It was one for the ages. It was a game that true Auburn fans will really remember, they will look to. And I want to share a personal side of it with you all and my viewers to help you get to know me and engage a little bit. And feel free to drop comments. Maybe you have some personal stories as well about what led you on your journey and your ride as an Auburn football person and Auburn football fan, and just the story of how you came into your own as an Auburn Tiger. And there's nothing, I look to this story and this personal journey in my life and this personal point in my life to really, when people ask me, here's a better way of putting it. When people ask me, Tyler, why are you an Auburn football fan? I can list off a lot of things. I can talk about my family. I can talk about my grandma. I can talk about my grandfather. I can talk about my great grandfather. I can talk about a lot. I have cousins that went to Auburn. Um, I'm from the Montgomery area, so it was kind of you're either Auburn or you're Alabama. Choose your side, and there's just a lot of things that comes into why I am an Auburn fan. But when I was in the seventh grade, I was in the seventh grade in 2004. Just kind of coming into my own as really, getting I was still very young. Don't get me wrong, but just kind of learning who I was as a person, and I knew I loved football. Played football all my life, and was pretty good at it at the time. And I knew I loved Auburn, and but I loved Auburn because that's what I was raised around. That's what I grew up in an Auburn household, and I really had no choice. And I grew up in Jordan Hare Stadium. I was fortunate enough, and that leads me on to this. But I was fortunate enough to come from a family that that believed in Auburn and believed in supporting the university. And so with that type of mindset, we went to the games. I was at many of football games growing up. I have pictures with my entire family, with Terry Bowden in the athletic department. I've never personally met Pat Dye, but I have there was a numerous amount of people in my family who have met Pat Dye, big supporters. I have a football that's filled up with autographs from the Tuberville era where they used to let you on the field at A-Day. I haven't been to A-Day in a long time, but I know they used to let you on the field after the game and the players would sign autographs. And I had a football made out from Tommy Tuberville to me. Me and my brother both got it. But just, those were things a part of my childhood that led me to this. But nevertheless, the 2004 season was on and rolling at that point, and man, Auburn was good. We were real good. We were special. I was at the LSU game when we won 10-9, and that was a pivotal point in that season that really people really said, okay, Auburn's something to worry about, and just the tenacity that that defense played with, that resilience, that 10 points is enough. We didn't score a touchdown until a minute left in the fourth quarter when Jason Campbell hit Courtney Taylor in the back of the end zone. And then we defended the ball and ended up got tipped up in the air. Junior Rose Green picked the ball off. That's a story for another day. I can't wait till we play LSU again so I can tell that story. I'll save that for another time. But we're on Georgia today. We're looking back at the 2004 Georgia game. So this was still when we played Georgia in middle of November, third to last game of the season. It was usually Georgia, a cupcake team, then Alabama, or Georgia, a bye week, then Alabama. And so this was still when Georgia was about that second week in November. And I think Auburn, both of us were in the top five. Georgia might have been undefeated. David Green was down there. He was a senior. All you Georgia fans remember him, the lefty. They had Reggie Brown, Fred Gibson, two NFL type receivers. Had a nice stable of running backs, kind of like what they do now. They kind of ran the ball on committee then. I think Thomas Davis was one of their running backs then, and there was another one I can't call his name. And they had a stout defense. Greg Blue. They had a linebacker that was very good. David Pollock was on that team, defensive end. Maybe Geno Adkins, maybe that might be his name. I'm not 100% sure. They had a lot. I'm sure one of those Bailey boys, maybe not Champ, but Sean Boss, one of those Bailey boys that Georgia had for seemed like year after year was in that secondary, and we all know what they did over there. So Georgia, Georgia was Georgia. Mark Richt was really those were his high points at his career in Georgia during that time with David Green. And I think both of us were undefeated headed into that game. It was a big top 10 matchup, top five matchup. And I was really excited because as a college football fan, I had never been in that point in my life to college game day. Watched it every Saturday. It was a part of like many college football fans, it was a part of my routine waking up Saturday morning, watch game day, hang out with the fellas, talk, see who's on the slate, and watch the picks and get ready to watch college football all day Saturday. That's what we like to do. So when I heard game, I had a feeling prior to that week, I had a feeling that college game day would be coming into Auburn. And I said, man, I want to go. I want to go. I always had dreams and aspirations to be a sports commentator, and I really wanted to go. It was something that fascinated me to watch Lee Corso, Kirk Herbstreit, Reese Davis up there on the stage and just everything around college game day. So I really wanted to go. Well, It turned out that it towards the middle of that week, it didn't look like I was going to be able to go. So I was kind of upset, whatnot. Well, something changed and ended up my grandmother was going to be able to come get me and take me from. She lived in Birmingham with my grandfather, and they were going to pick me up in Montgomery, and I was going to go to the game with them. So I was all excited. We're going to get. I told her we're going to game day. So God bless my grandmother. She took me to game day. She was a trooper. We got to game day and somehow weaseled our way into the front. And when she wants to get something done, that's something about my grandmother. When she wanted to get something done, she did it. And so we weaseled our way. We got to the front of game day. I have pictures from that day with Kirk Herbstreit, Lee Corso, Reese Davis, the whole crew. We saw them on the golf cart. My grandma flagged them down. Hey, my grandson wants to take a picture with you. They signed my hat. It was amazing. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better day at that point. And we got done with game day. My grandmother and I, we had this thing about we'd go to the old Coliseum, not the new one, but the old Coliseum, Beard Eves. We'd go and they used to sell little barbecue plates out of the concession stand around the Coliseum, and we'd go get a barbecue plate, and we'd sit in the Coliseum in the old pull down wooden chairs. Her and I would sit there and we'd eat. My brother would be there a lot of times too, but he had a football game that day. So it was just me and her. It was just me and my grandmother. And got done eating. She said, "What you want to do now?" This was back when CBS used to get these 2:30 games, and Auburn and Georgia were playing 2:30. So we're game day ended around 11, and we went and ate, and now it's getting time for Tiger Walk. So we make our way over to the Tiger Walk, and it was just, man, when I tell you it's still live and it's still a very proud tradition of Auburn football. But when I tell you those Tiger walks back in those early 2000s, late 90s, and I was a little boy, I just remember them for some reason because we always went. It was, I mean, it was a scene. There was hardly no room for people for the team to even walk through. I mean, you were really on top of the players. It was an experience like no other. Now they do a better job of marking it off. They've got precautions with the safety stuff and all that. But back then it was really, you were on top of these players, you were on top of each other, and it was a scene. People would be hanging in the trees, on the lights. I mean, the stuff you see on TV from back then, it was the real deal. And I remember we went to Tiger Walk. We got in the corner up under the light. The band was over there, and we ended up, you got to get there a little early if you're going to get a spot. So we're there an hour early before they walk through. And so we're talking to the people around us. My grandmother, she's a very friendly woman, and we get to talking to the people next to us, and the real ones are going to remember this young man, Donnie Young. um, Free safety, I want to say, from College Park, Georgia, same area that Cam Newton's from. They actually might have went to the same high school. I'm gonna look that up when I get done with this podcast because I like to stay on my toes about things like that. But Donnie Young's mother and father, and I want to say his sister, were standing next to us, and we found that out, and so we got to meet Donnie Young's family. We sat there and talked to them, and good people, great people. It was just a good experience. He came through the Tiger Walk and gave his family a big hug, and it was something special. And I'll never forget that Tiger Walk, man. You talking about some defensive boys coming through there, just ready to go. I mean, you could tell it was something about it then. I have a friend named Drew who talks about those Auburn Tiger teams, and I love hearing him talk about it because he really can illustrate it well. The way they used to come through the Tiger Walk, shining their teeth, shaking their dreads. Just, I mean, it was a party, getting ready for a party, and it was so much excitement. It was so much fun, and you just knew there was so much confidence there. Those boys were licking their chops to get on the field and hit somebody. I remember I remember the whole defensive line came through there just bouncing. Stanley McClover, T.J. Gunn, Marquise Gunn, just Quentin Groves. I can keep calling them. It was Junior Rosegreen came through there with them. I mean, these were some head hunting type football players that really you think about it and you think about Auburn football. This is what Auburn football really means and what it's really made of. So I hadn't even got into the game yet. So we get into the game, we get to the game, and I remember the first drive. It was a cloudy day too. It wasn't really a very nice day. One of those November days where it's just kind of bleak and ugly. But they get into the first drive. Georgia got the ball the first drive, and they moved the ball. Georgia moved the ball the first drive. They got a few first downs. Ended up getting the ball down. And I remember I was mad. I'd have a little temper, problem with Auburn football when I was a child, and I was sitting with my mom. She was at the game too. We didn't tailgate with them. Her and my dad, they went to the game with some friends of theirs, but I ended up sitting with them during the game, and I was sitting next to my mom, and I'm borderline cussing as a 13-year-old, and so she doesn't want to hear that, and she's telling me Tyler, they might not win. It's just a game. I can remember all this stuff. And I wasn't wanting to hear that. No, well, I'm not going for that at all. So they get those few first downs, and it's about maybe third, 5 or 6, something like that. And Georgia tries to run. They're about on Auburn's 30, I want to say. And Georgia tries to run they try to run a little off tackle play where it might have been Thomas Brown. I want to say their tailback kind of bounced it off tackle and tried to go wide with it. And I remember that play really signified and sent a message to the entire stadium that okay, enough with these Georgia getting some first downs and that y'all got some hope that you're gonna come in here and beat us. This is Jordan Hare Stadium. We play with attitude in here. And Carlos Rogers came flying up and smacked Thomas Brown. Put him on his back, got up dancing. I'll never forget the scene. And the whole stadium went crazy. Georgia came out there the next play on fourth down, tried to kick a field goal, wasn't even close. And it's like the rest of that game was just pure dominance on the Auburn side. It wasn't a question after that point. Where Cadillac Williams threw the halfback pass to Anthony Mix, and we went up at one point. I think the score was like 24-6 towards the end of the game. Like Georgia, I don't remember the exact final score, but there was no doubt during that. Auburn came to show the world, to show the college football landscape that in Jordan Hare Stadium, I don't care who you put in here, you don't have a chance. And they dominated that game in every phase of the game, defense, offense. And Georgia couldn't wait to get out of there. And when you think back, and it's a questionable play at this point in football with targeting and CTE, and I do not promote, kids getting hurt or anything like that. But it's just the attitude that those Auburn defensive players have. I know the real ones remember the what a lot of people will remember most about that game is when Junior Rosegreen quieted the whole stadium when he hit Reggie Brown. I mean, this is a stadium full of 87,400 and whatever Auburn had at that point. It's more now, but it was something like that then, going crazy. And when he hit Reggie Brown coming across that middle, Junior Rosegreen, it sounded like a gunshot. I mean, it really sounded like somebody got shot in that stadium. I can't believe he didn't knock himself out. He hit that boy so hard. And, it was just that attitude. And I miss it. I really do. I miss it. I don't know. It's a good thing that these kids get paid and they make money off of their name, image, likeness. It's a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I don't know if it really has kind of took a different made the game different in a way. It's brought more of a business type of mindset, just with the nature of money to it. And those guys in games like that, man, they really played for one another, for Auburn University, for the fans, for the tradition, for the men who wore the orange and blue and wore the AU before them, and for the ones who were going to come after them. It was for the Eagle, for all of it, for everything that is Auburn. They played for them, laid it all on the line, and that's truly what Auburn football is. And I love this week. I love thinking about that game in particular. The game ended, and I remember my dad pointing to the sideline. He said, "Look," and Stanley McClover, Marquise Gunn, Quentin Groves, the defensive linemen were over there with the Georgia ball boy, and they were dancing in his face, picking on him, teasing him, and all that. And it's just, man, it was so pure and not corrupted, not none of that. What the game kind of can be led to now. It was real, genuine, just everything that you want out of a football program, passion and joy. And I knew from that day on that Auburn would be in my heart for the rest of my life, that this program, this football team is true and dear to me. It's even if I wanted to, we could be 0 and 12 for the next 30 years, and in that next year, the 31st year, you're still going to hear me saying that we're going to beat Alabama, we're going to beat Georgia, Jordan Hare Stadium's going to come alive, and then we're going to reinvent everything that is Auburn. You're still going to hear me, God forbid that ever happen, say things along those lines, because I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen what this school is built on: toughness, resilience, and I know we can reach that level again. That's why I'm so passionate about it. And that game in 2004, the Deep South's oldest rivalry, really sticks out in my mind for so many reasons for why I bleed orange and blue. We went to, after the game was over with, my grandmother took me to Toomer's Corner. I'd been before, but nothing like a celebration like that. I mean, that was just jubilation at its finest as an Auburn Tiger football person. I mean, they were climbing on the light poles. I don't recommend anything like that. Don't go climbing on the light poles and hurting yourself. But I mean, that was just the passion. Like, you had people climbing on the light poles so they could throw toilet paper in the trees. And man, it's a tradition like no other. They say it in a lot of the Auburn sayings. It is a tradition like no other. Auburn men and women are beautiful people, are true, passionate people. We believe in Auburn and love it, and that can never be perverted or converted in any other way. We believe in work, hard work. Everything that's in that creed is really everything that is Auburn and what our program really illustrates and signifies. So, man, I could talk till I'm blue in the face. I could talk about the players on that team. I could talk about how I felt after the game, before the game. I could go into the Iron Bowl a couple weeks later, whatever, man. But that, I really wanted to take time to reflect on that. This video ran a little longer than I expected. I was going to make this like a 10-minute video where we just talked about the '04 game, but it's just so much about that game that really brings joy to me. I get excited talking about it. And I appreciate you listening. I hope it touched somebody. I hope it resonated and made somebody remember a time that they felt joy for being an Auburn Tiger, and it really reinvented that walk with them. So we'll get back with you later on today. We'll talk about some of the keys to the game. I really want to talk about the special teams a little bit, and that's kind of what I got on the segment for later on. But Everybody have a good day, man. Good things are in the making for the program. Stay down. Stay committed to our program, man. It's always War Eagle over here. And we'll be back at you later on.
Phone, dropping the price and you know that they on. Soon as we get it, you know that it's gone. I swear that we've been at this shit for so long. Mama asked for something, I tell her no. She tell me I ain't shit and neck.